How's it going, guys? I'm Theo Joe, and today we're going to be talking about the iOS 13 beta. So this is going to have a lot of new features, some of which Apple already talked about during their keynote back at WWDC, a lot of the major features, and I did make a video talking about that. I'll have a pop out with those major features, but there's also a lot of other minor features too that we can talk about that they did not mention in the keynote, but I think are still really significant. So you've probably already heard about stuff like dark mode and how there's like sign in with iCloud and stuff like that, a lot of those big features. But again, there's ones we're going to talk about in this video you might not have heard about yet. Now, I do have to say, even though this iOS 13 beta is available, it is beta, there's going to be a lot of bugs in it, so I would not recommend installing this on your main phone unless you see a feature that you absolutely have to have right now, and in that case, I mean, you might be willing to take the risk of it being buggy every once in a while. So without further ado, let's get into these features. Starting off with number one, this has to do with the dual SIM feature, and it is that you can now use iMessage with both phone numbers you're using if you're using dual SIM. Now, for me personally, this is a huge deal. It's one of the things I wanted, and it basically is the feature that convinced me, okay, I'm willing to deal with the beta software to get this feature and be able to use iMessage on both my phone numbers. So for those of you who are not using dual SIM, you might not care about this, but if you are using dual SIM, you'll probably understand why I'm so excited about this. And to enable this, you enable it the same way you would iMessage with your regular phone number. You go to the messages in settings, and then it'll give you the option to choose which emails and phone numbers you want to enable with iMessage, and you simply check it to add it. It's something I was really surprised they didn't have when they first released the dual SIM capabilities in the new phones. I guess it was just because they wanted to kind of get this dual SIM feature out the door as soon as possible, and they didn't want to have to change as much stuff on the background, and it would take a little bit longer. So I'm really glad that they finally added it, and it really works how you imagine it should. Okay, next up, this one's going to be great if you tend to get a lot of spam calls, and it is the ability to silence unknown callers. Now, this does not necessarily mean someone who's not in your contact list. Apparently, it uses Siri intelligence and probably some sort of machine learning to determine who is a known and unknown caller, not just using your contacts, but also looking in your mail app and your messages and see maybe if someone sent you a phone number in the messages or an email, for example, from a known contact, and then it sees that, and then it probably will allow that through. Or if it doesn't see this phone number anywhere, then it will send it straight to voicemail and you won't ring it at all. Obviously, I'm not really sure how it works behind the scenes. If I had to guess, it would probably allow phone calls from phone numbers that have been sent to you from known contacts. So if you get a random message out of the blue from an unknown number giving you a number, it probably wouldn't allow that. But if you have a contact already on your list send you a phone number in a message, it probably would allow that number, if I had to guess. So this is nice because it's a little bit smarter than just a straight whitelist of only contacts. But of course, if you're getting phone calls from something you're expecting, but it's not something you got an email about beforehand, then it still might not go through. But I think if you're already using a whitelist, this might be an improvement. All right, up next, this is a pretty interesting new feature, and it is optimized battery charging. It can be found in the settings, and then battery health, and you'll see this toggle for optimized battery charging. Now, what this feature does, or what it says it does at least, is it basically takes a look at your daily routine, and I assume this pretty much is only going to apply at night when you're charging your phone and you're not going to be using it for a while, but it basically will only charge your phone up to 80% if it knows, okay, he doesn't use his phone for this block of 8 hours while he's sleeping, so during that 8 hours and before you wake up typically, it will only keep your phone at a maximum charge of 80%, and then only right before you typically wake up and start using your phone will it continually charge it up to the full 100%. And the reason for this, I guess, is because lithium-ion batteries, the more you charge any battery and discharge it, it's gonna become less and less efficient. And I guess they found that if they keep the battery not at full charge all the time, then it will potentially last longer. So the best time to do this, of course, is when you're not using the phone. So they figure, all right, well, if this person's sleeping, we're not going to keep it at full charge, then the battery over, how many years you use it will have that many less hours at the full charge to wear it down. Now, I'll probably try this feature out. I'm a little bit skeptical because I do wake up at different times, different days. I don't always wake up at exactly the same time. So I do wake up and it's like only 85 or 90% charged. I'm gonna be pretty annoyed, especially because it does take a lot longer to get that last 5% to charge. So I'm gonna be really annoyed if it just doesn't do that overnight, especially when it had all that time to charge. You know what I mean? So again, we'll see how it works. I'm sure they'll probably over the course of the beta work it out, so it'll probably improve, and we'll have to see. All right, so moving on, the next improvement is that searching in iMessages is a lot better. I mean, before it really sucked. You would search for something in iMessage, and it would only show you the most recent result per contact, and there was no way to search through previous results. So if you searched, I don't know, someone's name or some topic, and it was not the correct one that showed up in the results, there's no way to click next like you could in literally every other searchable program in existence. You would have to like adjust the search term and hope that it came up that time. But now, when you do a search for a particular term, it will actually give the ability to see all results. So now you can actually go through, and if it isn't the most recent result, it'll give you the ability to search through everything, which is going to be especially useful if you're someone like me who just keeps your messages for all time, and I think it's just a lot better. Okay, now the next several features are pretty minor, but still significant enough, I think, to mention, and they're really cool. So first of all is that if you try to delete an app and uninstall it when you have an active subscription for that app, it will actually warn you now. So obviously if you delete and uninstall an app, it doesn't cancel that subscription. A lot of people might not know that, and it would really suck to keep paying for an app you literally don't even have installed anymore. So it'll now tell you, and then you can go and uninstall it. Also, another little feature is that you can uninstall apps and delete them from the update menu. So if you see an app in that list and you're like, oh, I don't even want this app anymore, you can just delete it by swiping over and clicking delete. So that way you don't have to kind of search through your whole home screen and find it and then uninstall it that way. It's just a little bit faster. All right, up next, this one's gonna be making a lot of people happy, and it is a new volume adjustment bar. So with all previous versions of iOS, what you would do is you'd press the volume buttons and this big square would pop up in the middle of the screen and it would block everything, and which is super annoying if you're trying to watch a video, but no longer. Now, when you adjust the volume, it just shows a little bar on the one side, so it doesn't block everything on the screen, and it'll actually shrink after a second, so it'll take up even less space. Or after you press the volume adjustment bar and this thing pops up, you can actually click on it or tap on it with your finger and adjust it and slide up and down to change the volume that way. So you get a lot more fine control, and it's a lot better than before. So you're not gonna have to have your YouTube videos interrupted and blocked when you're trying to change the volume. Here's a neat little new feature in Safari, and that is the ability to automatically close open tabs after a certain amount of time. So you get to this by going to the settings and then Safari and then close tabs, and you'll have the option to either manually always close it or also automatically close it after 1 day, a week, or a month. So this is great for people who obviously have a tendency to open a tab and just keep opening new tabs. You have dozens or hundreds of them open at all times. This way you don't have to worry about going through and deleting them one by one. Of course, you can, if you didn't know, just hold down on the number of tabs and it'll give the option to close them all at once, but now you don't have to do that. If you know you want to kind of keep some recent ones open but delete all the old ones after a little while, now you have that ability. Here's another cool feature in Safari, and that is when you go to take a screenshot, you'll now have the ability to not just take a regular screenshot, but also a full page screenshot. So it's the same method. You press the top volume button and the power button and it'll pop up and take the screenshot, but you can also now select either like typical traditional screenshot, or it'll render the entire page as one image. So this is gonna be super useful if you wanna save the whole page or save everything on it, and you don't have to like take multiple screenshots or whatever. All right, now finally, the last setting is low data mode. You can find this in the cellular settings, and you can just toggle it on and off. And you can also do this for individual Wi-Fi networks, surprisingly, but this is probably gonna be good for people who have data caps where it'll try to compress the amount of data that certain apps are allowed to use or do use, and this is going to be great maybe if you're also running low on data or you just want to use low data in general. I'm not sure how this would affect performance, like if you're trying to watch YouTube videos or you're trying to listen to music and stream it, it might reduce the quality or force the quality to be reduced. I'm not sure, but if you are on a strict data cap, then this might be something good to know about. So those are just some of the new features in iOS 13 that you might not have known about. Of course, this is not an exhaustive list, and when the final release of iOS 13 does come along, I'll probably do another video talking about my overall favorite features, especially if there's any new ones added, and including all those major ones that were also talked about during the keynote. Now, if there's any features I did not mention that you do know about, let us know down in the comments. That'd be awesome. And if you want to keep watching, I'll put some other videos right here you can click on. And if you want to subscribe, I make a couple new videos a week, so it should be worth it. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Have a good one.